Hi there, this is Gordy for acoustic guitar, and today in this weekly workout I want to talk about triads and discover some of their implications within music and in our playing as guitarists, ways that we can use them to understand music better, understand harmony better, and ways that we can practice them to find more fluidity and flexibility around the fingerboard. And we'll just dive right in now. So you probably know that a triad consists of, at least in its most basic form, the first, third, and fifth note of the major scale. So we're going to start with just thinking about a G major triad. So we've got this note, we've got our first note of the scale, put it together with the third, put that together with the fifth, and we get a triad, 1, 3, 5. Pretty straightforward. We can find different ways of expressing these triads or finding different orders of those notes all around the fingerboard, but we'll get into that later. But as a starting point, though we know they're 1, 3, and 5, and we know that in this case it's G, B, and D, I like to really take time and focus in on the particular implication of each of those three sounds, meaning the sound of the 1, the sound of the 3, and the sound of the 5. Because each of those three notes has, all 12 notes have an individual meaning and character that you can impart and you can really use as a player. So a way I like to work on that is to think about songs that use each of those three notes as the first note of its melody. And this is a thing you can just practice in your head, you can practice with your voice. You don't even need to have a guitar in your hands as you do this practice. But it's really powerful just to really familiarize yourself with the sound and the feeling of those three entities that are the parts of the triad, the 1, the 3, and the 5. Of course, if it's a minor chord, you'd be talking about a 1, a flat 3, and a 5. But for now, we're just going to stick with G major triads and kind of start with thinking about G. So to contextualize things, and this is so much about ear training, again, don't even necessarily need a guitar in your hands. To contextualize things, I like to have a drone going, just like a G note that's giving me, just a solid G drone. So this is now my context. And I'll find these, we'll use some examples of different songs that are going to start respectively on 1, 3, and 5. Not so much to really dig into those songs as their own individual tunes, but just to really hear what does it sound like when we start a tune with that note, with that 1, that 3, and that 5. So our first example is Sweet Georgia Brown. Typically, it gets played in a lot of different keys, but we're going to treat it as if the first chord of the tune is G7. So we can hear that low G note, that's our context. And we can also hear that 1, that's the first note of the melody. So the melody's going to go like this. So I get that in my mind and I try to really focus on that and hear that 1 and give that 1 a lot of meaning. Another example 2, we have the tune Beautiful Dreamer. It's a well-known old piece at this point. Again, focusing in on that first note. And try to hold that in your mind. Again, you can sing it along with the drone. You can sing that note along with yourself, just playing a chord. Listen out for that tone, and maybe even in different octaves. So for example, you might sing, you might sing, if you get that high. The point here is just we're really trying to identify those three separate sounds. Now example 3, we've got the 3. It's the third of the chord. So there's our 3. And example 3, I use the song Go Tell It on the Mountain, the old spiritual. we're starting with, right? And listen, if you know, in your practice of this, just listen to how different that sounds from every other note in the triad, the other two notes. You know, the 3, it has a specific meaning, a specific feeling. Example 4, we've got Ode to Joy. Played the melody a little bit wrong, but you can hear that first note. That's our 3, right? Doesn't sound like 5, doesn't sound like 1, doesn't sound like anything other than itself. Really, you know, give myself time to absorb that sound of the 3rd. And let's see, with the 5, I've got another spiritual that I use. We've got We Shall Overcome. Hear that 5, and that 5 again doesn't sound like anything else. It really occupies its own, you know, I think of it almost like a color, like it's its own. When I look at the color red, you know, that's actually what the 5 makes me think of, is the color red typically. And I don't really, you know, if I look at the color red, I don't think, oh, maybe that's green, maybe that's yellow, I'm not really sure. I look at it and I can see that it's red. It's the same thing when I hear the 5, especially in the context of hearing a 1 note in a drone in this case. I hear that 5 and I can hear, yep, that's the 5. Again, you know, find any example that you can think of that's, you know, a tune maybe that starts on that 5 note, or maybe there's a high point in a melody that you know really well where you know it's going to the 5 and the 3 and the 1 and so forth. And pretty soon you'll start to just hear them all over the place, and they get really woven into your vocabulary.